This is Financially Fit Business with Ruth King.
Welcome to the Financially Fit Business Podcast. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to the health of your business or your clients' businesses. I'm your host, Ruth King. Here's how we will help you increase the financial fitness of your business today. What if you knew exactly what words you should use with your clients to help them understand what you're talking about? There's a new simple way to do this. Your client will appreciate it and you'll communicate well. My guest, Leon Morales, Chief Energy Officer at DNA Behavior, tells you how this app helps you help your clients. Leon, welcome to Contractors. Welcome to Financially Fit Business.
Thank you, Ruth. It's great and a pleasure to be here with you today.
My pleasure. So, first of all, how did you get the title of Chief Energy Officer?
Yeah, I get asked that quite a bit. It's kind of an unusual title, but that's what we were trying to do to stand out. It really is centered around sort of connections, Ruth. The one thing that I've sort of in my career, I'm an accountant by my trade, by education, so I understand the accounting process really well. But I was always one of those that never felt like I was a great accountant. But I had such an interest in numbers, and I also had such an interest in people, the human behavior aspect of it. So when I started working with our founder, Hugh Massey here at DNA Behavior, sort of the whole energy exchange around relationships and results was really how we came up with the concept of Chief Energy Officer. And that's my role.
It explains you really well.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, as a CPA, when you were doing that type of work, I'm sure there were times that you were really frustrated because your clients were just not getting what you were saying, correct?
Absolutely. It's one of the things, especially starting in my career, I was really, when you think about that relationships and results, I wanted to be on the more relational side, not necessarily on the results and the processing, the planning side, because I really had more of an interest in humans, sort of understanding connections. So I actually gravitated towards that. So as I was moving up in my career, I did better sort of in a managerial role than I did sort of at a staff level. It was really quite interesting. But it's when I was working at that staff level, being able to communicate and articulate sort of the information was always interesting to me, because I had some people that I could say something and they would get it immediately. And then I had others that were what we call more anchored, and they needed a little bit more of a linear speaking and, at the pace and sort of the concepts, which I tend to go from A to Z pretty quickly. And some people go A, B, C, D. So it was really that paradigm trying to figure out how do we communicate better, which really got me on the path of human behavior to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's talk a little bit about DNA Behavior. So, you've developed an app, correct?
We have, Ruth, and we just launched it last week. It's called GODNA, and you can find it at GODNA.ai.
Cool. So, what does the app do?
So our company here at DNA Behavior, we have what we call a DNA web app, and it's really more retrofitted for enterprise clients. But there was a real niche we found in the marketplace around professional sort of individuals that didn't necessarily want to invest or take the time to work in the DNA web app. So we developed this quick sort of app called GoDNA, which really was centered around getting to know somebody that you have not met before or that you have been working with, but you just have run into this impasse of how to communicate best with them. And
Yeah. And go ahead. And I think clients, like you said, some people are just A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think this will help them communicate better with those types of clients, or even those that go A to Z real quick.
That's exactly right. What it does, it gives you communication keys that talk about that person needs things done at a pretty high level, or they need a little bit more detail, or they move at a pretty fast pace, or they move at a pace that they need to comprehend the information. It all's there within the GoDNA app. It's really simplified, and we did that by design to make the information very easy to use. We use a process called digital scan, Ruth, where the person doesn't even have to complete a discovery or a questionnaire. And for you as the professional, you can really glean all of these insights very quickly before you meet with the person or while you're meeting with them. Really make sure you're honing in on those right key communication keys for that individual.
And how long does it take to download the app, and what's the process for I assume you as the CPA need to fill out some sort of profile so that we know, or the app knows what your style is, correct?
Exactly. No, that is where sort of the setup process takes literally about maybe 5 to 10 minutes total. You just click on the app, and we do capture credit card, but it does give you a 14-day trial. And as soon as you complete that registration process, because that's the authentication process, then it tees up what we call the natural behavior 17 question discovery. Takes 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. That's where you really get the self discovery of yourself, how you actually are wired naturally. And it's just a lot of information around not only your work talents, but also your financial behaviors. And honestly, Ruth, that's one of the key points of GoDNA is this notion of financial sort of behavior. And that's where this financially fit organization really helps understand the client at a level that's not only about sort of how they think, but how they make decisions. That's really going to be key. But for yourself, learning that information can be quite enlightening because I mentioned I'm a CPA, but when you look at my DNA discovery, I'm very spontaneous and a very high risk taker. Two things you don't typically see in a CPA. So that's really what took me on this path of human behavior.
Yeah, you're not the typical CPA, I don't think, from my perspective anyway. So for all intents and purposes, now suppose we have a situation with one of our clients. How do we get their information in?
Yeah. So that's where the digital scan comes in. So once you've completed your discovery and you kind of do that self sort of assessment of your individual sort of strengths, struggles, we really encourage people to really learn that about themselves because it'd be quite enlightening. But then you can go into what we call the contacts and you can do a digital scan. And what's required, Bruce, is just a first name, last name. It's really important to get the company and the job title. So once you have those 4 pieces of information, you run this digital scan, which takes about 20 seconds, maybe maximum 40 seconds. It processes, it builds a DNA profile for this individual, a digital scan. And from there, you can look and see how this person sort of makes decisions, how they communicate before you even meet with them. And then you can do what we call a style match between the two of you, and it gives you tips on how best to approach that individual, how to work with that individual. And that's not just for a one-time meeting, it could literally be for the lifetime for the individual.
Great. So before we take a break, give everybody the website again that they can go and download the app, please.
Absolutely. It's www.GODNA.ai is the website, and you can find it off of the DNA behavior website. Once you click on the sign up, there's a really quick registration process, and then you get to go off and take your self discovery. And we have a 14-day trial as part of that. So I encourage everyone to go in there and really learn about yourself.
Very good. Thanks for listening to the Financially Fit Business Podcast. We'll be right back.
Financial advisory services are the key to the longevity of the accounting profession. If you want to get started providing advisory services or want a review of a finance course you took in college, Ruth King's manual, Understanding Financial Trends Analysis, might be your first step. This manual gives you the information you need to help your clients with their financial statements. A great start or addition to your financial advisory practice. You help them with clarity on their business's financial health, the ability to spot impending issues and resolve them before they become a major crisis, less stress and sleepless nights worrying about the financial part of their business. Your Financial Statement Trends Analysis Manual is the reference guide. What do you want in your financial advisory services practice? Click on the link below for more information and to order.
We're back. Thanks for listening to the Financially Fit Business Podcast. I'm speaking with Leon Morales, Chief Energy Officer at DNA Behavior. And before the break, we started talking about the app that helps you communicate better with your clients. Now, a thought came to my mind, Leon. Suppose, you start this by filling out your own profile, correct?
Correct. That's
And
right.
suppose you don't understand your profile.
The one thing, Ruth, and our chairman designed it this way, the words are so self-explanatory. since I've been with DNA Behavior 13 years, I've never had anyone say, I don't understand what this means. It's all very simplistic language. So in an example of that would be that you communicate a quick pace, or that you may need things explained in that more A to Z. It doesn't say that, but more at a slower pace. Especially I tend to be a fast paced speaker, so when I'm working with someone that we call a relationship builder, I really need to make sure that they understand that I don't rush, because I can sort of move the conversation a little faster than they may be ready for. And it's sort of language like that, especially in that style match where it gives you the comparison of you and the individual, gives you tips on how to communicate with that individual.
Cool. So I assume if we're at opposite ends, like I get it right away and you want it step by step, you have to practice.
Hey, Ruth, that's probably one of the biggest challenges. And, we always say that 87% of business issues are typically communication related. And that's a perfect example when you have a strategist. And that's if you think about a clock and it's at the 9 o'clock position, that's just orienting you on the behavior. That's somebody that's really pretty fast paced. They're very direct. And they're working with a community builder at that 3 o'clock position who wants friendly, pretty gregarious, needs things sort of explained. You don't just rush into it and not direct, maybe more indirect. That's like the polar opposite. And when you have a client that's the opposite to you, and it shows in the style match what percentage connection you are to that individual. When it's in the 30% match, that's going to be a really tough sort of meeting to just get to know the person and work through things. That's where the GODNA app really helps sort of slow that pace down. Now, if you work with a firm that has maybe a couple of advisors, you can actually shift that client to another person that's a little bit more wired like them, gives you the option. But if you don't, if you're a sole practitioner, you can really hone in on that and have a successful meeting, but always pay attention to those style match suggestions. Can make a huge difference, because we do see in that 87% of business issues, and you probably have those in your own sort of history, Ruth, where because I know you're a pretty fast-paced sort of individual, and you're sort of working with someone that it has nothing to do with intelligence, it has everything to do with their brain processes.
No, it's just the way they react and communicate with the world. That's fine. I mean, you just have to slow down.
That's
So,
right.
for those of you who are CPAs and, were frustrated by some of your client conversations because, you might thinking they just don't get it, or, they're not reacting the right way that I need them to react. This might be the reason for it. And it might be something that can help you actually help them even more and build the relationship that you have with your clients.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's one score, Ruth, that I particularly like to see, and it's called a financial relationship management score. And it's in the insights and the financial behavior insights. And it shows you how likely that person is to want to work with an advisor. When it's a 1%, and our founder, Hugh Massey, is a 1%, that means it's gonna be more difficult for you as an advisor to show up and carry on the conversation with someone like Hugh, because he's pretty direct, wants information, and he wants it done in a way that's, pretty easy to understand, like options. That always works best. When you know that about him, you can actually have a great relationship with someone like Hugh versus someone that's 99%. They really become almost codependent on a relationship. So you can see that difference between 1 and a 99, and you wouldn't know that without having sort of this intelligence.
Sounds good. Now, when you put in the company's name and position and owner, how many times do you find 6 companies with the same name?
We do. Oh, you're talking about the individual name or the company name?
Yeah, well, let's assume that, I'm a CPA and I want to use this with one of my clients, and his client is, ABC company.
Yep.
And then the name is, John Smith, and his title is CEO. But there's, 6 ABC companies with the name of John Smith.
So the key, Ruth, is really around the company name, because the CPA firm versus, ABC versus DEF,
Uh-huh.
because that really does pull in. It pulls the name, the first name, last name, and starts building the profile. But that company name's pretty important, as is the job title. That's going to be those 4 pieces of information are really critical, getting the accuracy around that.
Yeah.
that digital scan.
So I would hate, two people. I mean, like if you take my name, there's like thousands of Ruth Kings out there.
That's right. But only one Ruth King runs the company that you run.
That's true. That's
And absolutely, that's where the key is. It's kind of the secret sauce of building that profile. And then it does it, the digital scan actually does sort of look up public information to really enhance the profile. But most of that processing, 90% of it's done within the DNA system on those 4 pieces of information.
very good. And give our listeners an idea of the investment they make in this.
That's a great question. We priced the DNA Web App. We call it the Founders Group, and we launched that last week. And our price point is $18. So you can imagine the benefit of having just your own self-assessment for the $18 per month. And then using it with individuals, you can use it in an unlimited manner for all these digital scans. So for that professional app, it's 18 a month. Our price point, once we sort of have the Founders Club sort of filled up, we'll move to the $35 a month price point. And the feedback we've been given, Ruth, is that's quite sort of a significant sort of investment savings around just getting to know one individual, because one key meeting to gain a client can be thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you really be able to recoup that, that investment. It just becomes part of their tool set.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, $35 even after the Founders Group is, a third, no, maybe less than a tenth of what their monthly billable rate is, or their hourly billable rate is.
That's exactly right. And what we find is that people, when you're getting ready to meet a new client, or even if it's an existing client, the intelligence that this gives an individual really reduces sometimes anxiety before they meet the person. Can really build up sort of the confidence around, okay, these are the key points I need to make sure I convey in the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Leon, give us the website again, please.
Yep. So the website is www.GODNA.ai. And there's some great information on there. And then the sign up button when you're ready to start your trial.
Sounds great. Leon, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ruth. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I always enjoy our time together.
Thank you. And thank all of you for joining us. Choose one thing that you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a business owner improve the health of his company. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-8000 or email rking@financiallyfit.business. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable day.